Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting book club episode. This is Palm Wine Central Podcast in collaboration with Stuck in the Middle Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Uncle AK. And, with me, I got my other host. I'll start with Mane. How you doing?
I'm here and looking forward to seeing how this thing plays out in people's lives. Because it's good to know that you're not the only one.
Yeah, so, anyways, we'll get into it. T, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Nice. Barbara, how you doing?
Hi guys, happy Saturday. I hope you all had a good week.
You mean a whole month, but yeah. Anyway.
It's a whole month. It's the last weekend in April, so I hope everybody's month was amazing.
Yes.
You went by too fast.
Did it?
Yes, it did.
Oh,
It sure did. Yeah.
All right. Today, our book for today is Triumphing Over Imposter Syndrome by Dr. Michelle Vera Younger. 8 strategies to uncovering and shine through imposter faces in your professional life. It's a lively, practical guide blending research with real stories about beating self-doubt. Today's book couldn't be more relevant. Dr. Younger draws upon her extensive clinical background and personal journey with imposter syndrome to provide practical guidance that could transform how we see ourselves. As someone from Cameroon who became a dual board certified practitioner in the US, her perspective brings culture and experiences. What makes this book so powerful is how it addresses some things many of us feel but rarely name. That feeling of being a fraud despite evidence of the contrary. There's actually a term for it, and we will uncover that. So stay tuned. Fun fact. Did you know that psychologists first identified imposter syndrome in 1978? It's super common. Upon 70% of people today, report feeling this imposter syndrome, from time to time. So let's break it down. Hopefully, you guys grabbed your copy. I know everybody here grabbed their copy. So if you could hold your book up if you got it. There you go. That's what it looks like, imposter syndrome. So yeah, let's get into it. How did you guys find the short read? It's about, 30 pages or so? 35, if I'm not mistaken? How many? 50? Hey, where did I get 35? 50 pages.
56 or so, 55 pages.
Yeah. A very, very short read. How did you guys find it? I know, T, we talked about it. We had her on Palm Wine Central Podcast, where we kind of break down, but this is a little bit different because it's like personal, right? We sharing our own personal experiences. But again, let me shoot it to you, T. From when we spoke to her to now, you might have probably read this book about 5 times knowing you. How did you find the read, this far again?
The one thing that I think I like the book is it was true to its title, right? She said 8 practical guides. She did not play. They were the most practical tips I have ever seen with regards to in a self-help book, right? I was not expecting it to be that. It's a very simple book. Very simple yet insightful, right? It's not, sometimes when people write books like that, they throw a lot of statistics and research. 75% here. And this person has written about this study here. There was not a whole lot of that. It was simple, straight to the point, in and out. You get what you want. So I appreciate that about the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, you gave that same answer. I remember your answer from last time. You have good memory.
I didn't memorize it. It's just how about the book for real. I didn't even realize.
I went back and listened to the previous episode. So
you did?
Yeah. That's how I took and read the book again. But moving forward, Barbara, how did you find the book?
I love the fact that it was a short read, number one. So it was a quick 24-hour read for me. But just add to what he said, I liked how direct she was. And a lot of the stories and examples she gave are actually very relatable. Like, I can pick everything that she said. I'm like, yep, I do that. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. We all feel that. So it's very relatable. And I think honestly, I don't even say limited to immigrants, like everybody should read the book because there's something from there you relate to it. I'm like, oh God, I didn't even know that was an imposter. Or that was imposter syndrome manifesting. So it's a good read.
Mane, imposter syndrome. In your own words, what do you think it is? Like your understanding of what imposter syndrome is?
Not feeling qualified or questioning your skills or your ability, wondering whether you are qualified to be in the room or in the space that you are.
So, being that you read the book, and all her strategies and everything, just like kind of getting, deep into it now. Have you ever shared, well, recently in the past month, let me not say have you ever, because you could go and pick something very in 2003, which will not even count in 2025. So anyways, in the last month or so, have you shared, your feelings with self-doubt with someone and, how did they respond to it? Or how did you feel they responded to it?
Yes. When I was sharing it, my thought was they would agree that the way that I feel about it is valid, but they said that they don't see that. They don't see the inadequacy. They see a lot of like my ability to take something and then either go left or right in the sense of I can take it higher intellectually depending on who I'm having a conversation with, or I can make it in layman's terms. But in my head, I feel like how do I describe it? I feel like I come off as, well, because I've had two different perspectives on the subject. I've been told I come off as knowing too much. And then on the other end, it's that I don't share what I've learned or what I know. So I'm like, okay, how do I find a balance? So whenever I'm in space, like today I had a group meeting before I went to work. And two of the people, it was 6 of us, 2 of them know me as more of a listener than a talker. I really will only talk if I absolutely have to, or what I'm going to say is something that hasn't been mentioned yet. But the other 3 people did not know that. So the entire time they kept asking me, are you okay? Are you okay? Well, yeah, I'm okay. Then when I finally did chime into the conversation, it's almost like their eyes were like, she talks. So it's, that's why it's something I struggle with. Like, okay, when do I jump in the conversation? Do I just jump in just to jump in because everybody else is talking? Or do I really just share my perspective because I haven't heard anybody yet share it? I don't know if I answered the question because today's conversation that I had earlier today just came to mind and I was like, yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean, to that, right? Do you feel as though, well, that this imposter syndrome ties into well, say for example, if I'm among my colleagues, right, or peers and stuff, just because, for example, I don't resonate with a conversation, right, and which automatically will make me be quiet, right? Does that mean some kind of imposter syndrome is going on, or I'm just choosing to listen because I don't have nothing to share there?
well, for me, that has been a struggle, but I've gone to a point where I will not just talk because I just want to talk. But before that, I would have this conversation in my head like, do I share what I know or do I mind my business? Like an example was I was hiking with a group and somebody said the correct way to breathe is through your mouth. I was in front, they were behind. So my head was correct them or mind your business. But I was like, let me turn around and see who made the statement. Is it the healthcare provider or is it? So I had all of that. The correct way to breathe is not through your mouth. But then depending on where they came from with that, I chose not to correct them because I did not want to have that back and forth conversation.
I mean, isn't it one of those cases where they say, if you know better, you do better? So being quiet in that situation, is it like?
Yeah, but that's why I say I struggle with sometimes, sharing what I know and the evidence of the information, because in that moment, one thing I have come to, I don't know, settle with is that, is it a life or death situation? If me not saying anything, is that person going to die from that information? If yes, then I will say something. If no, because they are mouth breathers. They are mouth breathers for one too many reasons. But just because they are mouth breathers doesn't mean that is the correct way to breathe. And also, it was, I think that person was a healthcare provider, and I'm a healthcare provider. So I did not, in that moment, I did not feel like I wanted to engage in that conversation. But before I even came to the conclusion of not wanting to engage in that conversation, I had the whole, they are older than me, they are African, you don't correct your elders, and all of that went through my head. I was just saying, what? They're not going to die from breathing people's mouths, so I'll be all right.
T, I feel like you're good to take this question. So when did you first ever recognize that, you might be experiencing imposter syndrome?
It is hard to put a finger on when I first found out that this was imposter syndrome, or that situation was. But I can say that I do recognize it when it happens, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, and it happens quite often. So now I know what it was. I don't think the first time I ever experienced it, I don't think I knew what it was, because my earliest memories of experiencing it is recent, so, but I remember that feeling that it's familiar, like I've been here before, but I don't think at that time I knew it was imposter syndrome.
So now that you know, is there something you did different now that you didn't do before?
Yeah, I'm working on stuff. You get to get tips like from the book and just from life in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
To just help navigate when I find myself in that situation.
So which one would you say it is? Right. She mentions that there are, five different, the different types of imposter syndrome, and the readers, you guys can go read and get her definitions of it. But there's the perfectionist, the expert, the natural genius, the soloist, and the superwoman/superman. When you're looking at your imposter syndrome, right, which one do you fall in? And I know that it can, fluctuate depending on the situations, but the one that you're talking about, which one is it? And which one do you familiarize yourself with on a day-to-day? Well, not day-to-day, but you see yourself always, close to?
Oh, the perfectionist, for sure, that one. I did not think that was the characteristics of imposter syndrome, to be honest, until I read the book, right? Because I still just had the general, it's not like I'd done any reading on imposter syndrome before. I just know it's that feeling of where you get into a room and you feel like you don't belong type deal, which, then I was like, it was very rare for me to experience. If you had asked me if I experienced imposter syndrome at that time, I would say no. Right. So then reading this book and seeing that perfectionism is based on how it's explained in the book, right? Read it to find out if you identify or not. But the way it's explained in the book, it was a classic case for me. And I was very surprised that this is another way that imposter syndrome manifests in my life. And I was shocked and I was kind of pissed.
Why were you pissed?
I was just mad, like, damn. It's like, wow, I was just mad. To be honest, I was just mad that, damn, this is what this is. But, that exposure is for me to be able to know what to do and how to proceed, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was pissed. Even now, I still think about it. This is not my first time reading the book. Every time I still think about it, I get a little bit angry. Just pissed, but
I don't know why this is funny, but I get your point. I get your point. Similarly, you, Barbara, like out of the different imposter syndromes, which one do you identify with, or have you identified with?
the expert. I stay thinking I'm winging stuff, even though I know I have the knowledge for it. Especially at work. If you ask me, I'm like, shit, I'll be winging it. A perfect example, it just happened because as I read it, it reminded me, I got put into a meeting, into a committee to do something. And I was wondering why the hell I was in there. And then the girl said in the committee that the C-suite, like everybody, the CNO, the CMO, the chief medical officer, asked her to come find me, that I'll be a good resource. That should tell that advocates is what I do, and I'm knowledgeable, and he said he's seen my work. No, I did not look at that. I'm like, damn. Now I gotta show these people and present this. What if I don't find data that they need? Like, I really just be winging shit. That is the conversation. I'm telling you guys, my real conversations have in my head. I believe half of the time that I am winging it through it. I'll have things where I've done something. I've actually had a patient said something. I got to my boss. He came and said something. And then the first thing I said when they gave the compliment, in my head, I'm like, I was winging it that day, man. I don't know what the hell I was doing, but okay. That was what I said. So yes, I am the expert. That fits me. I stay sane. I keep winging things. And then I resonated with the superwoman as well. I like to juggle between many things at once because I think I can do it all. But the expert is what suits me too well. So, yeah.
Mana, do you ever find yourself in the soulless category?
You had to call me out.
I know, right? Like
It's like, damn.
sounds like you thought about that one.
I mean, that's me.
Speak a little bit about it. Boring sometimes, like, but why?
Why?
Why take on things alone, like, or feel like you need to?
Well, like I shared in the previous, I think the previous podcast we had about being the first child and you got to do for yourself and do for others.
Mhm.
So it's like second nature. I don't even think about it. I'm just like bam, bam, bam. And also because of that, even when it took me forever to start to ask. And then when I would ask in my head, I'd be like, when are they going to get it done? How soon are they going to get it done? Are they going to get it done in the right way, the way that I want it? And I had to go to this point of talking myself out of it. And I've gone to a point where if I do get to the point where I ask for help, I tell myself that you're asking this person because you know that they can do it. And if it's something that has a deadline, I would ask like way in advance. And I'd be like, okay, if possible, can I have it by XYZ? But I still have this whole conversation in my head of it's not as rampant, it's not as heavy as it used to. I feel like the whole COVID, even though I was working during COVID, I feel like COVID slowed things down and slowed me down because if I were to rate all the different types of imposter she listed, solo would be the first. And I think I graduated from perfectionist because it would be so bad that when I go visit people and I go into their living space or their kitchen, in my head, I'm organizing their living room. It was that bad. And I was like, just because I see things a certain way doesn't mean that everybody wants their home organized in that way. So I got to a point where, for me, it would give me a headache because I would do laundry and in my closet. Well, that's back then because now it's not like that. I'll organize my clothes in fading colors. I'll start from black and then go to the lighter colors. I'll go late to this because that's what I'm doing. I organized my books in sizes, the larger ones from the bottom end. And I was like, you know what? Nobody's gonna notice. So I
But
think I
find that one,
graduated.
that's not imposter syndrome.
Isn't that?
That's just where to be. Oh, I'm just justifying it.
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's perfectionist in the sense that you want things a certain way in the workplace. Then that's how it translates in my personal life. In the sense that if I don't have certain things a certain way, then I don't feel accomplished. I don't feel successful.
Mm.
But I was able to let that go. But solo is still standing. I'm still standing solo, I guess. But yeah, I'm working progress.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love the idea of solo, nah, man, I also like the idea of distributing the work. You know, because at the end of the day, if I'm looking at the workload and it's and I feel like it's 3 hours, nah, everybody bring your hands in here. I don't want to do this alone. I refuse. Before, I would not mind that, but because of all the different tasks that I take upon, nah, I made it a mission to make sure that everybody, you know, chip in your own. Well, unless I look at, you know, that person, I just know that, okay, you know, yeah, I might probably have a headache trying to run after this person. Yeah, I'm gonna just take on it, you know. But if not, no, I beg, bring your own expertise into this because we are all winging it, you know. And the expert, you know, thing for me here is an expert one, right? Especially, you know, sometimes when it's easy to just jump on TikTok and watch a quick 1 minute video and you think that, oh, now you become a plumber. Yes. And then you mess around and then water is all over the crib, you know? So, I mean, in this day and age, right, I always ask myself, I'm like, why do I need to go pay some ridiculous amount of money when the person probably watched the same video I'm about to watch and do this thing? So why can I not watch the video and do the same thing too? You know, I don't feel like I'm impostering at that time. I just feel like I'm educating myself or I'm learning some skills that I never had.
I don't think in that sense it's imposter. When it comes to like the expert, like if you're learning a skill or you're gaining knowledge, I don't think that's the imposter piece of it. I think the imposter piece of it comes when, like Barbara was saying, that she at work, she does have the expertise, but just so that it looks like, okay, it's almost like you give yourself a kind of room to fail, that, okay, in case I fail, you know, I'll not be too hard on myself that I know too much. So you downplay what you know just so that it hurts less in case you fail.
Gotcha.
So that's where the imposter piece comes in. So yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Thank you for breaking it down. But that was painful though, man. That was really painful.
I mean, you do those things without knowing, right? Again, I'll use Mother's example. You don't feel accomplished unless it's perfect. I can totally relate to that. Like I don't rest until it's done, dusted, and looks exactly the way that I pictured for it to look like. And that's not just work, that's everything else. Relationships, you're like, I don't rest until we don't have any problems. You will never rest. And that's why I never rest. So that's the piece. So just clarifying, like, just because someone has perfectionism, it doesn't automatically translate to imposter syndrome. You have to have those little caveats attached to it to make it imposter syndrome.
So just to add, sorry, quickly, just to add to what he said, the expert for me stood up for me because I have actually turned down positions for that reason. It's not even, they told me to do, to get a position. My excuse was, I'm like, yeah, I actually did not want to do it because I'm not very fond of leadership roles anyway. And I said it was too, like, just the dynamic at work is crazy. But internally, if I'm being honest, it's because I looked at it and I told myself, like, man, I'm winging this shit. Like, if these don't come out right, it's going to fall on me. And I really don't want to handle that. I work with C-suite. I work with these doctors. I work with these people. I know how they are, how they'll grill you. I don't have, and I don't have patience to sit and be explaining my no. As this is me have conversations, I just said no. And if you know the person that actually told me to take that role, it's not my boss, but it's my boss's boss that asked me to apply for that, and I said no. So it actually is affecting. I was like, nah. But that was the main reason I've actually said it aloud. That's terrifying. That was the reason, because if I don't give them the results, if I don't fail, I know what the issue is. It's my specialty. I can tell you straight up what the problem is. But just for me to put into data and present it, and that's going to open doors for me. I was like, oh, hell no. I ran away. So yeah, it's imposter syndrome. That's what the expert, like, because it manifests in my career, actually, unfortunately. So
yeah. How many times do we see, our peers run away from leadership positions because, they lack, or not that they lack, but they don't have, they have inadequate public speaking skills, right? Or they look at, management like a group of angels that only certain people have access to. Meanwhile, you could just sit and talk to them because like regular people, things like that. How many times do we see people, stuff like that. So we're saying that's imposter syndrome, not that you don't have the skills at all. Okay. I'm trying to make sure this grammar thing I'm understanding.
Yeah, in the book, even she says that it is imposter syndrome is a result of ongoing success.
yes,
Right. You are equipped to do it. Your insecurities just get the better of you.
there you go. Because I'm very equipped to do what they asked me to do. I know that, but I'm not confident in the outcome. I'm not confident in that. So because of that, I just make excuses and I run. So that is an imposter syndrome. Like, it's weighing on me, and it's something I actually have to work through.
So how do we work?
It's fun. I was gonna hold 1 second. Let me
go ahead.
What's funny is that it's just funny how it plays out, because it's like you feel like you don't belong, but the mere fact that you're in that room, you belong.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you didn't, you would not be in that room, right? But these things play tricks on us to say, oh, I don't think I'm deserving of here. If you really weren't, I'm not going to be in this room. I'm not going to be sitting at this table. I won't be in a position to do this thing that I'm doing, right? I'm talking because I'm talking to myself. That's why
It's so funny how you played out on camera live. Like,
I'm sorry. I was literally talking to myself.
So again, back to you, right, T. So how do you handle these challenges on a day-to-day, right? How do you yourself handle these on a day-to-day?
I mean, without going into hot tips in the book?
Well, we could dabble into it a little bit, but not.
I don't want to jump forward, but I'll say it's working sometimes. Well, before the tips in the book, right? It's been working on my confidence, my ability to not second guess myself, right? I've been trying that, and obviously I needed the help because it's still going on. So I read the book.
But she did say it's not a one and done thing. It's not a one-time thing. It's
True, it's not, but then it's like I should be able to experience it less frequently, if that makes sense, or less intensely as I did before. That means that I'm doing something, right? If I'm not, then it's just gonna stay to the same degree. They'll call you into a meeting and you will run, and you would. For me, like, sometimes I'll realize that I self-sabotage just so that just to give myself that legitimate excuse that, okay, I couldn't make it there because something. It's funny how the mind works. Yeah, but people don't make me give another sigh out. Continue. Yeah, go.
I mean, she mentioned a quote by, I don't know if it was Michelle Obama or Barack Obama, where she said, when you finally get a seat at the table, you realize that they are not all done.
Yeah. I think it was
I like that. I was like, yeah.
It's from Barack that
Barack, yeah.
when you listen to most of them, you realize that they ain't all that.
Mm-hmm. Now, facts. Barbara, what situation do you feel most like an imposter?
What situation do I feel most like an imposter?
Mm-hmm.
Half of the time, every day at work. Just it's just
How does, other than work, right? Other than work, does it show up in any other aspect of your life?
Yes, actually, I was gonna dive into it. I think in my personal relationships, if the people very close to me, if they listen when I talk, I ask a lot of questions like, how am I making you feel? Am I doing this right? Am I doing that? Because half of the time I feel if I do something right, if I'm just me, it stems more like when I was reading her book, I think it stems more from when I was a kid. It's like I'm very expressive. Like if something is bothering me, I will tell you. But I was reminded that I talk too much, or I'm too loud. Or if you went towards your lesson, you were told girls are meant to be seen and not heard. So shut the hell up. But at the time, so when I over express myself, I tend to apologize. I was like, oh, I'm sorry if I did that. I'm sorry. And I'll ask the other person, like, how are you doing? Just so I know, because half of the time I feel like in my relationships, it's either I'm doing too much to overwhelm them or I'm shielding myself or shielding from being my full self. So I feel like an imposter. I'm not being me. And I think I have a beautiful way of shielding it. That's just that I don't know if a lot of the time, oh my God, I'm spilling my secrets now, Jesus. Okay. I don't know if they can see it, but it's like I feel that this is gonna be taken the wrong way, and I really, really don't want them to do it. And so I will downplay it. Or I will just do the opposite of what I'm supposed to do, which I'm like, the inside me is like, excuse my French, but no, that's not what you were trying to do. Like, what the hell is happening? And sometimes I'm actively having those conversations in my head, actively, and then I'll just pause. But yeah, so it actually manifests a lot in my life, and I feel like I've found a very perfect way of shielding it, and a lot of people do not realize that. I feel like they don't. I don't think they do, but yeah.
Manny, do you feel the same way?
I think that how much of myself I share depends on what it is. Because I feel like not everybody can handle the depth of who I am. So if I feel like someone is a surface person, I'll have conversations with you at a surface level. But then sometimes I would want to share deeper, but I don't know if, like, it's that I have more conversations in my head than I have in real life. And I think that stems from, how I was raised. It's always, oh, so and so is doing X, Y, and Z. You should be doing it too. Or so and so is. So to me, I was like, I think it's not only until I got to the US and I made the choice in career path that I did, which the entire world was against it, because even me at the time, I did not understand it. But I know that decision, I could not explain that decision, but I knew that decision was going to pave the path for me. So because growing up, expressing your opinion wasn't a thing, I did not feel like I owed anybody that. So I feel like I've carried that into adulthood in the sense that if I feel like somebody is not, I don't know, receptive. Sometimes it's yeah, I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's I do more conversations in my head than I do in real life.
that can be a little bit tricky because sometimes, well, let me ask you this. When you do have all these conversations in your head, right? Like, when you do take scale on how much you're right or wrong, when you're having this conversation in your head, like, do you see that you're always on the, yeah, whatever I was thinking was right scale, or I should have had the conversation scale?
So I have conversations started that I test people on how they can handle my information. And I feel like on 2 occasions in my entire life, how do I say this? I feel like I'm always right, but then I want to either confirm or disprove that notion of being right. And then I get deep and then, it slaps me back in the face. And I'm like, okay, I was right. So I feel like, not always, but most, like for the situation I can think of off the top of my head, I feel like I'll be like, okay, don't do this because this is how it's going to turn out. But then something is like, you don't know that. And then I give it a try and then it might be whatever.
Gotcha. Well, I'll ask you my follow-up question later to that. But to bring it back to the book, right? Some feelings that can spark imposter syndrome, right? Like a new job, big presentation, receiving praises. That particular that receiving praises, especially at work. It's like, for me, I freeze. I don't know what to say. Like, you could have just typed it up and let it be. Let's act like we don't see the email and then keep it moving. Right, and come and stand in front of me and tell me, because you stand in front of me and tell me, I really don't know what to say. I freeze up. I'm like, yeah. But with that, see, what are some coping mechanisms, right? Like, for you, let's say you get that new job and you go in there and you're like, yo, I know this new, I know my stuff, but I don't know the people there. I don't know the culture, right? What are some coping mechanisms for you so you don't really feel that imposter syndrome?
For me, the one thing that has always helped is just going in and taking it slow. That has never failed me. I'm not running in to show you why you hired me. I am not, because obviously something went right in the interview, right? I am not rushing into action of any kind in anytime soon, because I want to be able to observe what the culture is and see how I can fit in and how I can make my adjustments. So that to me has helped. That's not to say that I have not struggled with that, with imposter, right? I do struggle, but that has helped me to manage it a little better in terms of like assimilating into that new environment.
Barbara, do you have anything to add to that? Or better yet, remember that one time you first came to America, right? And one time I first came to America and then you went to school, you sitting there like, man, what did I just get myself into? Like, how JJC, Johnny Just Come, how did you fight Johnny Just Come? How did you break the barriers for Johnny Just Come? Like the language, the food, everything. Matter of fact, you probably wore kosh to school while everybody wears sneakers.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I mean, not that happened, but I'm just assuming. But let's just say you did. How did you break that imposter syndromeness at that moment, or how would you advise somebody else?
So I would say, for me personally, I have I don't say gift. I have a thing where I tend to learn. I can easily learn people's personality traits and know people. I'm easy with people. I ask questions. I'm not shy. If I don't know something, trust me, it's okay. I don't mind looking stupid. I will ask a question. So I made friends and asked questions. I'm generally a polite person. I'm not rude. I will approach you in a very kind way, have conversations. So I will learn. I learned the culture. I'm not trying to impose them. I literally came back and I'll sit quiet. It doesn't even matter if it was just Johnny Just Coming. Any situation I walk in, I try to figure out Okay, what's going on here? This is how this person is. This is how I'm extrapolating. This is how they are. I'll ask questions. Just create little small talk, just so I can figure out where I fit in and how I can navigate each other. And it helps me assimilate that way. But that's what I did. I just made friends and I have conversations with different people. Just ask questions.
Nice. Well, in the book, she does mention, 8 practical steps to breaking down imposter syndrome, right? And this is what we, discussing. So let's touch each one and see how it feels. Let's level. The first one is the done list. The very first one is a done list. T, please. I beg, if I miss anyone, I beg, just stop me. If I say the wrong thing, stop me. But anyways, the done list. To you, Mane, do you find it hard celebrating little wins or wins at all? Talk about that.
I remember like when I think I've gotten to a point where I celebrate my wins, whether or not somebody else is celebrating. But before I got to that point, I would not, even when I graduated from undergrad, people were like, "Oh, congratulations." And I was like, "Oh, it's not a big deal. People are having doctorates." And this is just an undergrad. And even when I made it to masters, I knew that because family wanted doctor of pharmacy because it's a doctor thing. And at some point, I thought that getting to that, I would feel successful or feel accomplished. But I quickly learned that I can feel successful or well, not quickly, but I came to learn that I can feel successful or accomplished without having a doctor attached to my name.
What about you, T?
I mean, it's something that I still I struggle with now. To sit and celebrate. I'm hoping that I can learn to do that. And I started doing, actually her done list has been a great help. But I still struggle where she says that just don't have a to-do list, have a done list where if you get to do something for that day or check something off your to-do list, write it on your done list just as a visual reminder for yourself that you did do something today. Because remember, I said that my imposter shows up as perfectionism, right? It's never enough. I don't rest. And it's the reason I don't get to rest, I'm always on the go, is because I don't know how to stop and celebrate something small. Because I'm like, why am I celebrating this when I have this to attend to, when this is not done, when there's still chaos here? So to me, it's like, celebration is more like, okay, everything is done, now let me rest. But it's something that I struggle with. But that done list has been helpful. On some days the personality overpowers or the practical step. I just leave to try another day.
Yeah, imagine being a perfectionist to a perfectionist. Like, anyways, like
something that came to mind. I think I read it somewhere else. Is like I have my calendar on my phone, so at the end of the day, I'll update it for tomorrow. I will notice when I'm going through the list, I will notice that I did something that wasn't on my to-do list for that day. I'll add it and then check it and then send it to, because my calendar is my Gmail. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I was reading something or watching something, and then the person said, "Do any of you ever do that?" I was like, "Oh, I'm not crazy for doing that. Is just a little checking of something, because I don't always go through all the things on my to-do list." And when I was in my strong perfectionist phase, I would have a headache if the day is going, especially in the winter when it's darker earlier. I would literally have a headache because I have this thing that I haven't completed. So now I'm in a phase where I'm like, okay, God, if you let me see tomorrow, we'll try again. And that's where I am.
Yeah.
Like I say, the way I read it is, if I don't do this, is somebody going to die today? If no, we'll try again tomorrow. if it's going to significantly affect somebody, even if it's not to the point of death, I would try to get to it. But other than that, that's how I read it. Because
Teach me your way, so teach
I
me
cannot
your
come and
way.
kill myself, because if I die today, I will not finish it tomorrow. So
Because it's
even
even like this. If it's not done, I'm not sleeping.
my dear, I used to be there. It wasn't.
Oh, I would dream of that presentation till it passes. God. Anyways.
So yeah, it just depends on what it is, and I kind of rate it in order of importance. I'm like, if today comes to an end, I don't do this, what is going to happen? We'll try to target that first. If I can try it again tomorrow, okay, we'll try it again tomorrow. I cannot come and kill myself.
Yeah. For me, it's is it a life or death situation? No, it's not. Okay, then. We'll just leave to say another day. And whomever feels the need that this is supposed to be a life or death situation, please, by all means, do it. But I mean, what's the big deal, right? Do it. Like, you can do it. You be inspired. Elevate the moment. But anyways, taming the inner critic. Yeah. This is the part that they really talk about giving yourself grace, right? Negative self-talk. Barbara, do you find yourself always, not always, but do you find yourself doing that, like talking negatively about your own self? How do you quiet that? How do you tell yourself, yo, be quiet, man, like, leave me alone right now? Not the good time. I mean, not best of time.
Yes, I do sometimes. As much as I claim myself, I always tell people I'm the highest. You cannot hype me. I can hype myself. I will hype myself. So that's where that came from. If for whatever reason I'm sitting and standing here, I'm like, you are not. I can be talking to you and I'm looking at myself. I say, "Chai, there might be some fun there." That's me. I will hype myself. But to answer your question, I suffer with that. Like, I would think negatively or have like, oh my God, there's something she said in the book. You dwell, which I think we're going to talk more about. You dwell on the things you did not do well versus the things that you do well. That's me. I dwell on that. I will sit on the things that did not do well. Why did this not work? What did I do that was not wrong? I will sit and I will think and I will think and I will, I am a thinker. I will process and come up with different scenarios on how I could have fixed that, and how, if that thing comes the next time, and how I can prevent that from happening. So I will do that. So recently there's a prayer that I heard. It came from a pastor that said, I just started saying it. Father, grant me the grace to believe that you will say what your word says you will do. It's a simple prayer. So literally, if I wake up and I'm in the prayers before, even in the middle of this, I'll give myself this morning. I was obsessing over something. I woke up this morning, I was just not, my energy was low, and I was saying, I was doing prayers. I'm not doing this thing. Why is this happening? I'm not da. And then it's flipped in my head. I just said Philippians 4, verse 46. Thank you, Lord, for that. Father, give me the grace to believe that you say what your word says that you will do. That is me trusting God and said, okay, that's what's going to happen. So I begin to flip those thoughts with prayers. And then in the middle of the prayers, I started happy myself. I said, Lord, thank you that this is what's happening. People don't even have jobs. This is what I have. I was able to pay, I switch it. That is the only way for me to keep saying. So I don't think about those things, but I found a way somehow. I don't know how. It's by the grace of God I found it. I was swapping in my head.
That's nice. Yeah. I guess I could take on this one. Cultivating self-compassion is one of the ways to reclaiming power from imposter syndrome. Cultivation passion. I don't know. Wait, what did I just say? Self-compassion. There you go. I always say Rome was not built in one day. You know what I mean? So just like the perfectionist, that sometimes I think I might have in me, I always also give myself grace that, man, whomever is looking at something, yeah, they also have eyes too, right? They can also look at that thing, and together we could find the perfect in it. For example, if I'm designing something, right, I'm not about to bang my head and say I'm about to put the best product out there. I'm not doing that. even in software development or all these products that we use, they don't do that, right? They come close and give you, and then they ask you, so what's your feedback? Do you find this thing interesting? What can we improve? What can we take away? And then they go back and rework it. Now, if they can do that, why should I sit here and become stressing myself about, being perfect? So I will go, depending on my energy levels. How do I feel right now? I feel I'll have 5 minutes to do this, and I'll give it 5 minutes of my time, and I'll send it out. Now, whomever is receiving this, if you really got a problem, please, by all means, tell me what I can fix, I can do better. You know what I mean? Because if you don't, it's a done deal, and I keep it moving. I allow myself to tell myself I did my best job at that time, and I keep it moving. I'm not about to stress myself, sleep over this. Now, if I wake up and they're vexing about it, my bad. How can I improve it? And I'll go and improve it. You know what I mean? Work-wise, yeah. Because at the end of the day, if there's a project and you say we got 24 days to get it done, I'm gonna start doing this thing, from day one and getting feedback. I'm not about to sit here and then act like I know it all when I really, I'm about to go do research to see what this thing is even about. So I'll give you in doses to see what I can improve, and then, go from there. So I allow myself to, have that leeway to not stress, not feel like I don't belong, and do my best and give you full feedback. So yeah, I don't know if you guys do the same or you.
Actually, that cultivates self-compassion is something that I struggle with a lot. You see, the grace that they said to give yourself, I do not. I extend that grace I extend a lot of grace to a lot of people, to a lot of things. Like I give like a amount of grace that I give people. If I give myself that same amount of grace, I think a lot of things would be so much better for me. So I suffer with that. It's so much that I know that I do. Like I struggle with it. I do not give myself that grace. And I always feel like the amount of grace I give people, I feel people do not even give me back the same grace I give them. So I struggle with that as well. So it's something that when I read this book, I was like, I don't even know if this is imposter syndrome. It's something that I'm looking for. If somebody can give me techniques, because if it's prayer, I have prayed. If I can learn techniques in this real life on how to give myself the grace I give people, the way my life will be easy, the way things will be. Oh, sorry, hold on, what I'm saying, hold on. But I need to I need to learn that. I am praying, and I believe I'm slowly gonna get there, but it's something that I don't know how to.
For some people, words of affirmation will help. For some people, words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation is saying, it's like, yes, I am this, I am that. Of course, I do all these things, but I just, as I said before, I suffer with the fact that people would dwell, like she said, people dwell on the things that they did well. I dwell on the things that I did not do well. So me dwelling that, I'm not giving myself grace. I focus on that heavy.
So now that you know that, it is your place to switch it.
Oh, I know. That's just I'm working on it. I am working as I am actively working about it. They say it's like prayer goes for works. I'm praying and I'm working, like I'm actively working to fix that. But it's just in general, like if the amount of grace I give other people, the amount of grace leeway I give other people, if I can apply that to my day to day, I'll not be struggling as much as I do, because I actually do struggle. I will dwell on the things that did not go well. I will sit on it to try to figure it out. Anybody that is very close to me will tell you that. I will sit on it. It bothers me. Like it bothers the living, like it bothers the shit out of me. That's how bad it is. So it's something I'm working on. So that part cultivates self-compassion. Yes, that's something.
Can I throw something in there? Just light on something you said. That caught my attention. When you said that you're working on fixing that in itself, that's one problem there, right there. And I'm saying this because that's something that I used to say. And my therapist told me that when it comes to like with human behavior or things that we're trying, we don't fix it. Because when you put that word fix, it means that if it doesn't work as you see it in your mind, where you get to a place where I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll have compassion on myself, you'll be even more disappointed in yourself. So to reframe the words and to start saying that I will get better at this, then you give yourself that leeway to say, okay, at least yesterday I was mad at level 10. Well, I'm mad today, but at least it's level 9.5. So you start, that's a way to start looking at your progress that you're making towards that thing, as opposed to saying that I'm going to fix this. Because if you fix it, it means it should not happen again, but it will.
Okay. Thank you. I'll get better at it. Thank you. Thank you.
Don't worry, I'm right there with you. I'm right now, this month I've been learning what compassion is and stuff. So I'm right there with you. Let me not talk like that. You think that I have it in my and I'm learning that the compassion as well, right? And it's more than also like she said, like the mantra is good, positive affirmations, all that is nice, but compassion is way bigger than that. Compassion is way bigger than having positive thoughts, right? It's also that grace that Eke was talking, which I also struggle with to give myself, right? It's also not the end part of it, is also not leaving myself in that situation. And so right now, if I'm not applying these tips, I'm not doing that, then I'm not compassionate towards myself.
Another thing she mentioned in the book was challenging perfectionism, not doing something to not be perfect. Like, can anybody do that? Like, you half-ass your way to do something intentionally? Like, can you intentionally half-ass your way to things?
Yeah, there are a lot of people. Ask those people who had C's in school. A lot of
did they intentionally have C?
Well,
oh yes, absolutely.
I can say that I intentionally failed the pharmacy technician course because that was the only proof to say that I'm not good at it, so that people would leave me alone.
Wait, hold on, come again.
That's that self-sabotage piece we talked about earlier, right?
Did she just say she failed intentionally?
Don't cut this particular portion. People should watch the entire thing. By the time they get to this part, they'll forget it. But yeah, I did intentionally failed it because I kept saying that I'm not good in chemistry, I'm not good in physics. I'm not great at science subjects, but I can pass it. So I felt like if I pass it, I will not have an excuse to say I don't want to do this because I'm not good at it. So I purposely failed it. That way, like, oh yeah, you're not good at it, so go do what you want. But still, they were like, well, people have done this 3, 4, 5 times and you succeeded. You only failed one time. What is the excuse? But yeah, but I'm not. Failure is not for me. So if I failed it, then it means it's not for me. But yeah, I don't know why you're going to cut this part and not post it. But
Okay, but
just put.
wait, does considering not trying, does it fall under that? Like not trying at all? I mean, to what you said, T, like having C's, not trying at all, is it? Because
it would depend on the individual, right? Just because it fits the script doesn't necessarily mean that it falls under the category of imposter syndrome, right? So it would depend on the individual's situation.
okay, because some of us that when we got back, it looks like a cow was slaughtered on our report cards like this. Does that mean that we just did not have sense back then?
And that could be, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's imposter syndrome.
Right. Yeah. Well, while you at it, right? Self-care. Let's talk about self-care, right? Talking about rest, hobbies, boundaries, things like that. How important is self-care to reclaiming, yourself from imposter syndrome?
I think it's very big. Self-care is more than just, I'm going to the spa and get my back pressed, or, self-care is all that is good and well, but it's like self-care is part of how do I talk to myself? when I'm down. That is self-care. You can go and go through a week retreat at a spa, you come back and you still will not have taken care of yourself, right? We culture mostly projects physical self-care. Oh, I'm working out, I'm eating right, I'm drinking my water, I'm taking my vitamins and all that. But it's like, how do you talk to yourself? What kind of information am I consuming, right? Like when I am alone, how do I see myself? And just being able to work on those things, right? Like do the done list. That is self-care. But you're not going to hear about that because it's not Instagrammable. Learning how to quiet my inner critic. That is self-care. Learning how to build my confidence. That is self-care. Learning how to accept failure. That is self-care. So those are all things that I am currently, I don't know, I guess I feel like everything I've said is like I'm learning everything, but yeah, it is true. I'm not trying to be cliche. It's something that I am learning with self-care because my definition of self-care was mostly physical. And now I'm learning that it's emotional. How's my emotional intelligence? Am I learning to get a handle on my emotions? That is self-care. Am I maintaining my boundaries? It's not just telling people, but am I respecting those boundaries myself? That is self-care. I failed in that aspect sometimes, many times, and for good reason, but I failed myself, which is the most important thing in that aspect, even if it's for a good reason. If I break my own boundary, then I failed ultimately. So to me, those are the things that count more towards self-care that I'm leaning towards. And yeah, I'll get 6 pack later.
To add to what he said, I just think self-care is very individualized. Like we all have different definitions of what self-care is. It's so broad. Like to me, when I read this book, she spoke about self-care. And the first thing I said, I'm like, to me, self-care is giving myself grace.
Yep, it's giving yourself
actually
that's the most.
Me, it's giving that's me personally, it's giving myself grace. That's me taking care of myself because that's something that I struggle with. I can say, oh, me going getting a wax or my nails, everything. No, that's not self-care. That's just me being me. That's just regular every day.
Self-care. It's called grooming.
It's grooming. That's
hygiene.
And it's something I should do. That ain't self-care.
Yeah. It kind of is a form, but that really ain't it. Because you can go get wax and come back with a nasty attitude.
Thank you. Ain't nothing happen, But to me, like when she said the self-care, when I read that part, so the first thing is, giving myself grace. That is self-care to me. I'm like praying more. I enjoy praying. That's the thing. I enjoy waking, like when I wake up in the morning, I said I'm going to pray. So then when I don't do it, it bothers me and it just messes up my whole day. And so to me, that self-care is, I said I was going to wake up and talk to God at 6 o'clock. Wake your ass up and talk to God at 6 o'clock. That is self-care to me. Like it has very different definitions. Like it's just, I don't know. As you said, it's not Instagrammable. So I cannot Instagram it. But when I read this thing, I was like, the 2 things that came to me are grace and prayer.
Yeah, that self-care is knowing your needs and giving yourself what it is that you need at this time. That is self-care.
And also, like you said, knowing your boundaries, But Mane, the last 2 there were embracing failures and seeking support. Like, I feel like not sometimes, but we should normalize making mistakes. It's okay. Nobody's about to kill you. Especially if the directions were not clear, right? Like normalize, like saying, hey, you know what? I did not get the directions, but now that you've seen this, how can I improve this? Right? Or seeking support. I don't know. When somebody says and say, when they really say closed mouths don't get fed, they really don't. You don't sit and not ask for help and then expect mine to fall from heaven. Like you look at the next person next to you, they're supposed to be your mind reader. You have a problem, they're supposed to be your mind reader. They could barely read their own minds, but I think I'm talking too much. Mane, from the book, like seeking support and raising failure. How do these tie? How do these two things tie into reclaiming yourself from imposter syndrome?
I think earlier in the conversation, I don't know if you will mention that failing due to not trying, and what came to mind is not trying because of fear of failure. Because to me, there are certain things that I did not try because I was scared to fail. But I came across a quote that because I like to collect quotes. The quote was, "It's better to have tried and failed than never to have tried at all." So if there is something that I'm curious about, I have to talk myself through it. Like, what's the worst that would happen if you fail? And if you're not gonna die from it, then why not give it a try? So that's something I constantly tell myself when someone says, "Oh, have you thought of this? Have you tried this?" Rather than just say no right off the bat. I mean, there's certain things that I'll just be like, I don't think that it's for me, or is my path, or I'm in alignment with it. But at least I would sit with it for a bit, and I would ask myself, like, if nobody's gonna die from it, hey, why not give it a try? And then the seeking support part is, just asking, and the worst that can happen is they will say no, that they can't, they won't. And everybody's entitled to that, to that choice. And nobody owes you their time, even if you're paying for it. You're not entitled to people's time or to people's services. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask. So, like I said, a lot of conversations happens in my head before I actually, share it or act on it. And yeah.
We are coming down to our conclusions here, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, you've enjoyed the conversation, and I guess by this time you know what imposter syndrome is, and you can identify your own and ways to practical steps that you could take, to feel like, yeah, imposter syndrome, don't go, it's not there no more. So let's close like this, right? T, now that you've read the book, probably about 17 times now, like I said, what part of this chat, right, hit home for you? Like, as we're discussing this, right? What would you tell anybody who is currently, suffering or going through imposter syndrome, be it at work, at home, dealing with their exes, things like that? What would you tell them?
I would say it's not in your head. Sometimes you get imposter syndrome and you don't look like you should have imposter syndrome, right? And then you tell somebody and they tell you, "Oh, it's all in your head." I'd like to tell somebody that is going through that it's not in your head. It's a reality for something. And it's funny, it's harder to reach out, especially when you look at yourself and you don't look like you should have imposter syndrome. Right? You don't fit the bill for someone who should be feeling like a fraud. But you're not alone. Imposter syndrome does not have a poster child. So if you do feel that way, I bet you there's somebody probably right next to you feeling the same way too. And it's understandable, and there are resources available like this book to help with that. And what I used to think is, in order to, like, imposter syndrome, oh, I have imposter syndrome, you will go to a therapist, you will read it. Sometimes the solution is usually the most simple and the most practical. Like the done list for me has been good on good days. So sometimes we make a mountain out of a molehill, when the solution is just something as practical as checking a to-do list can help you.
Yeah, they always say that what was I saying again? That the way to really get something done is to write it down. Because if you don't write it down, you've already failed 50% of the task. So it's something that even I myself, I was trying to do. But I don't know, man. I got this board that I write my to-dos, and it feels good to tick it on the other side, like done. Or at the end of the day, look at my journal, because I gotta like write down everything, and then just hitting those check boxes like, okay, I did this, and checking, midday too, as the day goes, to see if some of those things are done. It feels good. It really feels good. It's like Thanos gathering Infinity Stones, to snap figure stuff like that. So yeah, Barbara, what's one specific way you approach life differently now that you've read the book?
Let me think about it, because I should have not thought about it.
Okay, we'll come back to you then. Mani, you can take the same question.
I don't know that I have a specific way, but I from reading the book and taking the test, the quizzes that she suggested, I feel like pre-COVID, I would have scored higher on having or experiencing imposter syndrome. But when I took the test, that was on the lower end, like it was the 0 to 40 or 30 something. And that made me realize that I have been working on improving how I handle it without even knowing that. Because I used to deflect compliments or praises. Someone would say, "Oh, you're good at," in my head, I'd be like, "Oh, really?" But now I'd be like, "Thank you." I mean, I would still have that "oh, really" in my head, but I would verbally say thank you, and I'll really appreciate it. So it's those were ways that I could pick out, or even at work, like the speech therapist, when we have a patient that has different abilities, and they'll be like, "Oh, we can get this person to talk," and I'm like, "Everybody talks, everybody communicates, they just don't communicate like everybody does." So before, when you come looking for me, I'll be like, "No, I can't," just because I did not want to be that person. I didn't want to be the face of that person. But now I still, the struggle is not the way that it used to be. I would take on it. I would have this conversation in my head, talking myself in and talking myself out. And the fact that I am moving towards taking it, that at the end, the talking myself into it always happens to win. So yeah, I feel like the book was, because I haven't read a book on imposter syndrome. I did not even know that it was a thing until I read a book by a couple of doctors wrote a book about what was the book? Chronicles of something, and they were sharing their imposter syndrome. I thought, "Oh, this is what it is." But then I thought that they were only medical doctors who experienced it. But I was like, I later on learned that just about anybody can experience it, and they shared their experience of how they managed it. But to read a book specifically about it, that could be generalized to the entire population. It was good for me to see how I could pick out instances. Like I had a situation, I had experience a few days ago. A therapist, she's never met me. She was like, "Oh my God, your voice, the way that you talk to people is so soothing." And in my head, I was like, no. Because before, I would not listen to a recording of mine of anything. I don't have a voicemail because I didn't want to hear my own voice. Like even this whole podcasting, I would rather write for 3 days than talk for 1 second. But I feel like I've come to accept whatever it is I'm called to. And but like she said, it's not a one and done thing, and it may never be over completely and entirely. And I'm in a space where I'm facing. I mean, I may not always want to face it head on. Sometimes it comes looking for me like you have to face this today. But it's a really nice and short and quick, straight to the point. We actually read the entire book in 1 hour.
Yeah, sounds about right. You do a speed reading.
The book you're talking about is Beyond Challenges, Survival Stories of African Immigrant Physicians on Life, Love, and Practice of Medicine.
Yes, that's it.
This one.
Yep, that's it. I was trying, because I have it here on the floor. I actually have 2 of them. There's one before that one that was written by one person, and then that one. But yeah, it was eye opening. When I read that one, I was like, oh, only doctors experience this. And he said, no, no doctors. Okay. I think I wrote a blog post on it. I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure did. Yep. Barbara, you were going to say?
Does it have an Audible version? Because I'm gonna have to go check it out. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So to answer your question, right? I don't know if I can narrow it down to one thing that I can take out of the book to apply to my day-to-day. I mean, throughout the recording, I mentioned me not giving myself grace. I think that's one thing I can do that a lot. Just give myself a lot more grace, which is, as I said, is something that I've been working on even before reading the book. I was aware of it, and this book, it's eye-opening. The self-care. I don't know why I paused when you asked me that question, because that self-care thing it dawned on me while I was here. That to me, self-care is giving myself grace. It's saying do the things that I say I'm going to do. So I need to apply that. And everything else, I do that a lot more. It's like I'm doing it. I don't think I'm doing it enough. Is the word. I'm not doing it enough. I need to do it a lot more. And I'm probably going to get a lot more peace than I have right now.
There's one imposter syndrome that I feel like it's a blessing to have. It's that superhero one. Please throw it on me. Let me keep pushing to try and excel. Let me keep pushing to try and excel and keep going no matter what. Because the more I push, I feel like the more again, the more I push, it pushes me to ask questions, and the more questions I ask, the more I get to find out. The more I get to find out, the more I can, begin to put all those things together to, know what I need to know. So I feel like that's why imposter syndrome, should fall on me. But anyways, that's my conclusion with this.
If it falls on you, it will not do the thing that you think it's going to do.
Because I think that it's going to make you self-sabotage, because it doesn't give you that cape or wings that you feel like you're flying.
It's not coming from the good place.
No, it's not.
Because the superhero one, it makes you feel incompetent, if anything. That's just what it is. It's what you're explaining is the opposite of the superhero. You don't want it.
It makes you feel like you want to be in too many places at once.
And so you feel like you're falling short.
Driven by insecurity, like you want to prove you have a point to prove.
Yes.
By doing a whole lot of things that you end up not being good at it. He's like, okay, I regret saying that.
You guys can go to the flow. You guys can go to the flow. But anyways, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. Thanks for breaking that down. I take it back. No superhero imposter syndrome. But anyways, I feel like, if it was looking at from a positive, if you're looking from a positive lens, yeah, that would be my own pick, superhero, yeah. But those superheroes make it, and they kill the villain at the end of the movie now.
The one in imposter syndrome is not always you are killing yourself.
You don't see yeah, they do, but do you see how much imposter syndrome they fight before they wear their cape? Let's skip that part of the movie now.
You know what? You
know how many times that girl had to talk to Spider-Man? What's her name?
Before she got the kids hanging upside down.
Yes. You know how many times they had to talk him out of? Don't skip that part of the movie.
What's the next book? What's the next book? What will read next?
The next conversation, Argue Less, Talk More by Jefferson Fisher.
Yep. Grab the book. Read. You got a month. We definitely record the last week of every month, Saturday. So grab your book, get to the reading, so that once, you get to read, listen or watch the episode, you're right alongside with us, and you can, also be dropping your comments in the chat too as well. Yeah, man. Go read the book. Get some knowledge so you don't feel like an imposter. And also pick up Triumphing Over Imposter Syndrome by Dr. Michelle Vera Younger. 8 practical strategies to uncover and shine through imposter faces in your professional life. Yeah, that book right there. If you feel like an imposter, remember, most people do. Keep sharing, keep collaborating, and remind yourself you earn a seat at the table. They always say, fake it till you make it. You know what I mean? Somebody says a question you don't know. Remember, there are things like Ray-Ban glasses you can get to say, hey, Meta, why is this guy even asking in the first place? I'm not saying it's the best use case, but it comes close to it. So why not take advantage of it when you know situations are not, that great. But anyways, man, keep reading. Grab the book, like I said, keep reading, keep sharing, and we'll love to hear what you guys say to this. We'll love to hear how imposter syndrome shows up in your individual lives or not, or how you've, overcome that. So please, again, share your comments, your concerns, questions with us, if you have any, and get the book for the next book club. Even I'm forgetting what the title is now, but I know Jefferson was somewhere in there. But yeah, I'm here with Mane, Barbara, and T. T for Therese. Therese with a T, like Mane will always say. I'm still be shy today. We don't know if it's an imposter syndrome that's coming out to today. But anyways, don't worry. We'll catch her. We'll catch the non-imposter side of her next week. We out, y'all. Thank you all. Catch you next one. Peace.